itinerary when I found out about Sandy and her company and this itinerary where you get a lot more garden, but you also get a lot of the historic sites and the whole flavor of the Netherlands and Brussels. To me, it seemed like a great combination that blended the gardens within the context of the countries that we're at, and really I think is better suited to what Triangle Gardener would want to share with people. So anyway, I'm happy to be working with Sandy, and I'm going to let her take it from here.
Great, Beverly. Well, I'm very excited about having Triangle Gardner and all your followers come with us, because I think this is just going to be a fabulous experience. So I'm going to share my screen and we'll get started. And just so you know, I have two monitors. So if I'm turning my head, well, I might be able to do it this way. So anyway, here's just a little, you know, we make travel easy, Floriade 2021. Let me see, oops. Just a little bit about me. You know, I've learned that extraordinary travel happens when you expect it. I just love that, you know, thing. So here's a little bit of my background. I am a Condé Nast 2021 top travel specialist. I've been voted best San Francisco travel agent for 6 years in a row. They didn't do the voting this year. So, and I've been a top producer for my host agency. I am a virtuoso travel advisor. So Virtuoso is the leader in the luxury travel market around the world. And I have other professional memberships with IATA and ASTA, the American Society of Travel Agents. So we've got a great reputation and a great clientele, and we're very excited to be offering this itinerary for Floriade. Actually, there is no other agency that is offering the itinerary we have. If you look at Tauk, if you look at Scenic, if you look at Colette, even if you look at Alma Waterways, they are all spending either a day or a half a day in Floriade. And this is just an amazing opportunity. If you've never heard of Floriade, or if you haven't been, it's really like a World's Fair and the Venice Biennale all rolled up into one. It's just an amazing experience. The park is 150 acres. 40 countries will be participating. The cable cars that are going to run, it's 850 meters running around the park, which will have amazing views. And it's just going to be, you know, just a fabulous experience. I mean, they're going to be offering things for food and culture and art and all kinds of activities. So it's going to be just an immersive thing. And flowers, and the thing for this year is growing green cities, how to live in urban environments and have them be green and healthy. So there's just going to be a lot of very interesting things to see and do there. I love this slide with these flowers. They're just so gorgeous. There's going to be a big arboretum, and it's going to be alphabetically organized. So there'll be, according to tree and plants. So it'll be like a walking encyclopedia that you can walk through and look at all these amazing flowers and plants and trees and get to know what they are. There's going to be green structures. And if you can see the building on the right-hand side, I mean, there's plants growing out of it. The side walls are organic material. I mean, there's just going to be all kinds of very interesting things. On the left-hand side is an art museum. And, you know, there's just going to be all these gorgeous ways to get around it and everything else. There's going to be a food forum. You know, it'll be a place to meet people. They'll be talking about sustainable food supply for the future. There's just going to be all kinds of amazing things. There's in the greenhouse complex is going to be 170 meters long, and it's going to be divided into 5 parts. There'll be a reception that's going to be dealing with high tech. Then there'll be the greenhouse, and then there'll be innovation, and then there'll be restaurants. There's going to be all kinds of things where you can try local food, healthy and tasty snacks, all kinds of things. And one of the things that I find very interesting, they're going to be building a bridge, and they're building it from the waste flow from the river that goes by. So everything is going to be focused very much on sustainability. And one of the things that they're going to do is they're going to create this urban district called Hortus. And it's going to be in a place where this could be how cities could be. So the houses will be built behind the green areas. So you'll see the trees. And we've all been reading about how important trees are for climate warming and everything else. So to be able to be conscious about how trees and plants are really important for our future and our sustainability, this is going to be done. So, and from no matter where you're going to stand, the first thing you're going to see is green vegetation. So the buildings are not going to be in the forefront, trees are. And what they're going to do is after Floriade is over, they're going to leave it to the city so that they will have an urban district that, you know, will be green, and they expect it to last for about 100 years. So I think we're going to learn a lot about how we can have a future and how we can live in cities and still be green. So as I said, the theme this year is the greening of cities. And so there'll be a lot, and all these countries will be sharing their technology. And you'll be able to actually have an immersive feeling, you know, see, smell, taste, all the things from places all around the world. And hopefully we'll all come away, you know, feeling like we're want to live a little greener, a little healthier. I mean, it's just going to be like, Floriade is going to be on the world stage. And if you think about all the stuff that's going on, about how we need to be more conscious about the climate and what's happening to our earth, this is like the perfect place to be, to see how we really can live and have wonderful lives going forward and save our planet at the same time. So Beverly and I would very much love to have you join us. This is going to really be, I think, very inspiring and very, you know, maybe even life-changing experience. So after 2 days at Floriade, let's take a look at what the itinerary will actually be. So the first day you'll fly into Amsterdam. And what's nice about this is it's round trip Amsterdam. So you're not flying into one country and then leaving from another country or even different cities. It's round trip Amsterdam. So you leave the US on May 28th, arrive in Amsterdam on May 29th. And we have 2 nights at a 5-star hotel in Amsterdam. And so the first evening, we'll just have a little welcome reception and a little briefing on what's going to happen. Day 2 will be a full day at Floriade. So the bus will pick us up at the hotel in the morning, and we'll do the full day and come back at the hotel in the evening. And on the 3rd day, this to me is very exciting. If you've never been to the Aalsmeer flower auction, it is literally the world's largest flower auction. And it's one of the world's largest buildings, not height-wise, but square footage-wise. I mean, that's how huge it is. When I was there, I felt like it was 1 million football fields. That's how big it was. And you actually have brokers sitting there. I mean, before the internet and computers and stuff, I mean, it would be like an auction at Christie's, and they'd have paddles and raise their hands. Now they actually do it through laptops. But this is the same thing. They have you know, an amount of flowers or something that is up for auction, and then they all bid on it. They even have people who call in from around the world. Mm-hmm. I have a friend whose father was a rose grower in Zimbabwe, and she said that he sold all his flowers through this auction in Amsterdam. So that would be a very early morning. So he'd get up really early. We'd go to the flower auction, come back, have breakfast, check out of the hotel, and then have a second day at Floriade. And then at the end of the day, the late afternoon, we'd all come back to the bus and get on the ship that evening. So you'd have dinner, you know, get into your cabin and have dinner on the ship that evening. The next morning on day 4, we cruise the canals of Amsterdam and then leave and cruise on to Utrecht. And in Utrecht is going to be our first garden stop. So that'll be in the afternoon. And right now we have kind of 2 options. When we get closer and a final payment, we're going to have to make a choice between one or the other. So I'll basically, ask people and see how many people want it, what the majority rules on this. But just to give you a sense of it, the Palais Haute-Lou was the actually a residence of the royal family of the House of Orange, which is which has been the ruling family for over 300 years. There, it's the kind of the lower right-hand corner. It's Baroque gardens, very symmetrical, based on 17th century, and it's unique to the Netherlands. The other option is Linderhof Gardens, which was designed by Piet Oudlov. And he is a very famous Dutch garden designer. He was a leading figure in the new perennial movement, and was also very involved in the design of the High Line in Manhattan in New York City. So they're both very exciting gardens, and we'll have to make a choice between the two, but those are the options for that afternoon. So day 5, we're going to be cruising on the Delta, and then the afternoon, and please excuse me if my Dutch is not perfect. I'm not a Dutch speaking person, so I'll try my best. I think it's Vera. It was a fishing village. It's now a yachting town. It's just a beautiful, charming place to want to walk around. Or one of the things that's really nice about the river cruising, and I'll take a little step back. Rivers were the highways of Europe. And what's lovely about river cruising is that when you pull into these little towns, you're actually pulling into the center of town. It's not like on an ocean cruise when you pull into a industrial port harbor, and then you have to take buses or taxis to get anywhere near the city. I mean, when you cruise out of Rome, it's basically Civitavecchia, which is an 1.5 to 2 hour drive from Rome. I mean, even in Antwerp, you walk off the ship and you're in Antwerp. So you get to really feel the little towns or the cities of Europe. And there are bikes on the ship. And so there are bike tours that you can sign up for, or you can just take a bike and go off on your own. So there's a lot of options with river cruising, because you can either do the excursions, which are included, or you can decide, I want to sleep in late today and I'm just going to go walk around town on my own. So it's a lot of options. So that's day 5. Day 6, we're going to go into Ghent. It's a walking tour or a bike tour. And then in the afternoon is going to be Bruges. And if you haven't been to Bruges, it is a magical city. It's really the Venice of Belgium. It's just charming. And the whole center of the city is no traffic. It's just all pedestrian and bicycles. And they're just gorgeous, interesting architecture, beautiful. The swans are swimming in the lake in the canals when you kind of go around. And then the Church of Our Lady is the home to the Carrara marble Madonna and Child sculpture by Michelangelo. And I've seen that, and it is just breathtaking. It's just a beautiful, beautiful thing. So one of the things you'll start to see here is that we're mixing gardens in with, other experiences of the Netherlands and Belgium. So for example, if you have a travel companion who would love to go with you on this trip, but maybe is not as garden oriented, there's plenty of other things for them to enjoy and to do. Day 7, we're going to get to Brussels and Antwerp. So in the morning, we're going to go to Rozenteum Coloma, which is a rose garden. They have over 3,000 varieties of roses. I don't know if there's any place else in the world that has that many roses. And then in the afternoon, then we have choice of some city tours. And obviously, the Belgian people are so well known for their chocolates. So the chocolate tour would be an interest, or you can take a bike tour. So there's things to do in the afternoon. On day 8, we're going to go to Arboretum Westpilar. And that Arboretum really focuses on trees. It's they say the study of wood plants. So to me, a wood plant is a tree. And, from climates all over the world. And their hope is to contribute to rare and endangered species and, you know, a place that all these amazing trees could be saved for anyone to see. And so it's really an amazing, it's 20 acres. So, I mean, hectares. So it's about 50 acres, and they have about 2,000 species. So it's really one of the world-known places for that kinds of plants. And then in the afternoon, we'll be in Antwerp, and you can have a walking tour, whether you want to do beer tasting or waffles and chocolates, or again, another bike tour. Day 9 is Dordrecht, and that's where we're going to go to the Botanical Garden in Leiden. It's also an amazing garden. It was started back in 1590. And it's broken into 4 gardens. The Clusius Garden was started in 1583 for exotic ornamental plants, and they added in tulips at that point, when the tulips were really there. Then there's a Japanese section, and you may or may not know, but Japan and the Netherlands met for the first time April 19th in the year 1600. So the Japanese and the Dutch have had a long standing relationship. And if you think about it, if you remember from your art history, Van Gogh went to Japan and did a lot. He was, well, I don't know if he went, but it became very fascinated with Japanese block prints. And so there's a lot of that influence in a lot of Van Gogh's work. So, you know, there have been times when maybe the Dutch and the Japanese were on better terms or not, but, you know, they're definitely there. And Japan will have a pavilion at Floriade. So the relationship goes back to the 1600s. So that's pretty exciting. And then there'll be a fern garden that was established fairly recently, 1993. And during the 19th century, ferns and collecting them was a very popular, especially in the UK. So they have an amazing collection of ferns. And then there's the systemic, which was started in 2005, and it shows the evolution of plants. So how they started from one to the other to the other. So it'll be a very interesting thing. So, and then in the afternoon, this is a favorite place of mine, Kinderjik windmills. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And if you can see the lower right-hand photo, it's an outdoor museum of windmills. I mean, it's an absolutely stunning location. You get to go inside a windmill. It's set up the way that at the dates when people live there and work there, and then they have someone who shows you how it worked, and it's fascinating. I mean, I forgot what percentage it is, but it's a huge percentage of the Netherlands is below sea level. And it's amazing the technology that these people figured out that goes back to, you know, I'm not sure, you know, 1300s or something like that, and how to pump the water out and how to live and have agriculture. I mean, it's a phenomenal project. There's also the Delta Project, which was built in the 1980s, and how to keep water out, which I think, you know, with rising sea levels, a lot of countries are going to learn a lot from the Dutch about how to deal with water. So I love this site. I actually haven't ridden a bicycle in a million years, and I did a bike tour. It's very flat, and there's no cars and no traffic. So if you haven't ridden a bike in a long time, I would say this is a great place to try riding a bike and seeing all of the windmills in this beautiful, beautiful area. And then we get to day 10, and that's when we all have to go home and disembark from the ship. But I think everyone will have made lots of friends. Everybody on this within our group will be very much interested in flora and trees and flowers. And I think there's going to be a great exchange between people from all kinds of things. I know the San Francisco Orchid Society is working on bringing people on the ship. I have people from all over who are gardeners who are just loving this itinerary and have signed up. So it's really going to be a once in a decade, and maybe for many, once in a lifetime experience to actually get to see all this. So I'm very excited, and Beverly and I would very much love to have you join us. this is the ship we'll be on. It's called the Ama Prima. It's an Ama Waterway ship. I'm working in conjunction with Ama Waterway, so it will be Ama
You
Waterway.
need to change the slides, Sandy.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
Uh-huh.
went on the other one. Sorry. Okay. I've got two screens up. If I apologize. So it's the Ama Prima. As I said, it's an Ama Waterway ship. It's all Ama Waterway staff. It's all Ama Waterway service. It's going to be just, fabulous. And if you look at the upper left-hand corner, that's what we call a twin balcony. And you'll see that there's this little champagne bottle and there's a door, and that's the outdoor balcony. And it's a twin balcony because if you look at the one next to it in the middle, you see the curtains, and that is glass enclosed. So basically, if it's too hot or too cold and you want to still be out, so to speak, you can go in the enclosed balcony. If it's, and that's where these two chairs would be, because it's all glass on these sides. And then if it was really lovely and you wanted to go outside, you would slide this door open and you can see the two chairs outside, which are these chairs there. So you have, the twin balconies, you have the option of both. Next to that, in the upper right-hand corner, is what we call a French balcony. And what that is, floor-to-ceiling glass doors, and they slide open, but the balcony is only 6 inches wide, so you can't step out, but you have the full floor-to-ceiling glass enclosure, and you can open it or close it or whatever, and you can lean out if you want to take a photo, but you can't sit out. And then we have the window cabins, and if you see the glass, that's actually about where the water line is. So part of the cabin is below water. I've stayed in those cabins. They're charming. They're a little on the small side, so it's a little harder if two people wanted to share, and we had this made up into two beds, but it's definitely doable. The reality is that you don't spend a lot of time in your cabin anyway, because you're out most of the day. The middle one is kind of the reception area, and the far right bottom is a picture of the ship. One of the things that's really nice you can see is the whole top of the ship is open. So you can sit out on the top of the ship and enjoy. There's a bar, there's a pool, there's covered areas. It's very, very lovely. So on the days that we're sailing, and if it's a beautiful day, which it should be in the end of May, beginning of June, you can sit out on the top of the ship and really watch the world go by. And then you'll see on the front, all these windows here. This is the lounge. It has a 270-degree view. So if you don't want to be out on the top of the ship and you don't want to be in your cabin, you can be in this lounge. It's beautiful. It has lovely seating area. There's a bar. One of the things that Ama has is they have a coffee station with an espresso machine running 24/7. So you can make yourself a cappuccino or a hot chocolate or tea or whatever, whenever you like. So, there's a lot of options for where you want to be on the ship, a lot of outdoor space, which is really important in today's world. Ama requires every passenger be vaccinated. All their crew is vaccinated, and their safety precautions are excellent. In the summer of 2020, when we had no vaccines and basically the whole world seemed to be in lockdown, a German tour operator chartered a few Ama ships with Ama crew, Ama safety protocol, everything in place. They had 1,400 passengers that summer and not one case of COVID. So they really know how to keep things safe and healthy for everyone. If you want to follow me on social media and learn more about myself and Floriade and everything else, here's some of the places that you can find me. And this is another favorite quote of mine: using a travel advisor is like a great bottle of wine. You may never know all the love and attention that went into creating the trip, but you'll definitely taste it. So I'd like to leave this open for questions. Oh, before we just kind of do that, if you look at this bottom right-hand picture, remember I said they were going to be building bridges out of the waste flow from the river. So this is a an artist rendering of what the bridges are going to be like. So it's really amazing to see a beautiful bridge like that and know that if it wasn't, it was built out of waste flow. So pretty exciting. And then just here are some picture places, lovely places that you'd get to be able to sit and just, you know, look at the beautiful flowers and enjoy yourself when you're at Floriade. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and we'll open it up to questions. So anybody have any questions, comments? Would love to hear from you.
I have a quick question.
Yes,
Do you have a list of the 40 countries that are participating in Florida?
I don't have a complete list right in front of me right now, but you can go on to the Floriade.com. Okay. I know the US is signed up. I know Japan is signed up. I know Germany is signed up. I know Italy is signed up. Indonesia is signed up. Those are just a couple that come. I think I said Germany.
Yeah.
You know, these are just a couple that I remember from the last time I looked, and you know, it's just so, but yeah. It will be 40 or close to 40, and they'll each have their, I don't know if you've ever been to the Biennale in Venice, but in the Arsenal, they have an area where they have it every 2 years, and then countries actually take over pavilions and display amazing, interesting art. So you're going to have pavilions here where countries are going to show the best of their, I know there's going to be flower arranging from Japan. I'm sure Indonesia is going to have stunning orchids, you know, and they'll list, you know, they'll also go through some of their technology and green things and everything else. So it's just going to be, I mean, where do you get to see all this in one place? I mean, it's just amazing.
Yeah.
Sandy,
yes.
Question, the last day when you are in Amsterdam and leave from Amsterdam,
yes,
does the ship pull into Amsterdam that day at a certain time or the evening before?
Well, I'm not sure. Probably the evening, typically it's the evening before.
Yeah, that's what I would think, so that people can
because people have to get off early, because some people have very early flights. Some people might have to leave the ship at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, okay.
Typically they do that, and everybody needs to be off the ship by around 10. They like you off the ship by 10 in the morning, at, you know, maybe a little bit later, but you know, because you have to realize they have to go through, clean the ship, and then let people come back on into their cabins by 3 o'clock in the afternoon for the next, you know, out and about. So you know, they need to you know, get people off so that they can do what they need to do and, you know, turn the ship around.
Also, do you know when you will know what hotel that you that would
it's a, let me see if I can find it quickly. I know it's between 2 hotels, but we're probably going to use one. They're in the same company. They're 5-star hotels. But one of the hotels, which looks a little charming, maybe, I don't know, that, you know, it's like splitting hairs, which is nicer. But one of them is located down a side street, and the bus can't go to the front of the hotel to pick people up. So I don't want people having to either walk to the bus or, you know, drop their suitcases off and have all that. So it will be the other hotel, but, you know, until it's totally confirmed. Hang on, let me see if I can find it quickly.
Well, will you just let us know when you know what the hotel is?
Sure, absolutely. But they're 5-star beautiful hotels.
Looks like a wonderful trip.
Oh, it's going to be fabulous. It's going to be really, really fabulous.
So
Kim, do you have any questions?
You can see why when I heard about this itinerary with Sandy, that I thought this would have good value with Triangle Gardner, because it's a nice blend where we see more gardens than just one. We see Floriade, which I probably won't ever see it again in my lifetime.
Me either.
Plus, you know, it's not like you're bypassing everything else that makes up the Netherlands and Belgium. You're still getting a taste of the places where the ship is going through, and river cruising is the way to go. You always see something. You're not out on open water, and you do just hop on and off the ship. It's so easy to get into your activities as soon as the ship pulls up, instead of having to be way out in a port somewhere and being bused yet one more place. So
Plus we're seeing 4 important gardens beyond Floriade. I mean, nobody else is doing that.
right. Kim and Tim had a question.
Kim.
How many people will be on the ship or will be on the trip that you're organizing?
Okay, so at this point, the capacity of the ship is 162 passengers. Right now, I have booked 50 cabins. So I mean, 25 cabins, that's 50 people, because based on what I have now, that's the number. But I can increase that. And we're talking to, you know, like Beverly and the San Francisco Orchid Society. So I suspect that we will go beyond the 25 cabins. But at this point, it's 25 cabins.
That means that you are organizing like bus transportation for 50 plus.
I'm not, bus transportation where?
Well, you were saying the buses would pick us up at the hotel.
Oh,
so
AMA Waterways is taking care of all of that. So from the minute you arrive to the minute you leave, all the operational things is being handled by AMA Waterways.
But there will be some people on the trip not on Sandy's itinerary, so they won't be going to these extra gardens. There will be
That's right.
some.
That's right. It'll only be,
Sandy reserved certain number of spots on the ship. And so they might only be doing chocolate. I don't know.
Yeah,
You
they're
could share
not
tulips with them and they'll give you chocolate at night.
right. And the thing is,
but the bulk of it will be people who are like-minded, liking flora and fauna, scenic gardens.
right.
For a ship of that size. And what's nice, it is small. You're not on one of those big ocean liner excursions, and
With a lot of outdoor space too.
lots of outdoor space, which I think is really attractive for people with, you know, in this day and age right now. And you're all gardeners. You all like the outdoors anyway. So.
Right. And the 4 gardens that we're visiting, nobody else on the ship is going to see those. It's only us.
Yeah.
And
the rose garden, my research, it's the largest rose garden in Europe.
Pretty amazing.
And the Hortus Botanicus is the oldest botanic garden in the Netherlands. So it's not just any old gardens that we're seeing. Sandy has really picked out some rather rare, unique ones, and we'll work as part of Triangle Gardener to really help augment your experience, knowing, you know, where you're all coming from in North Carolina, you know, to make sure that we've got a good understanding given our sense of place of where we're coming from. And I haven't really pulled that together yet. I'm just trying to wait and see where we go next steps on everything. But, you know, I do want to make sure we, you know, stick to what people really are interested in seeing and not just a generalized tour of these places either.
Yeah, I mean, having Beverly with you, well, it's just going to be amazing. I mean, what an incredible resource. And like Beverly said, those are very important gardens. I do a lot of work with Filoli, which is a major garden and house. It's on the preservation of the National Historic Trust. And I worked in conjunction with the head of horticulture at Filoli to pick these gardens. So, you know, they've really been well thought out. And the other thing is that other people who may sign up for this who are not part of our itinerary, if they just do the river cruise, they have 1 day at Floriade. We have 2 days of Floriade and the International Flower Auction, which nobody else on the ship is going to have as well.
And then you have the best of the ship amenities.
Yeah.
So you come back in the evening and you have, or the afternoon, and we have all the lovely amenities on the AMA Waterways ship as we cruise. And by that time, you know, we're far enough north. Remember, it probably doesn't get dark until 10:30 at night.
Right.
We're north, I'm wanting to say. So even when we're back on the ship cruising away and having dinner, you're going to have great views from your room, from the, you know, from outside on the ship, to really be immersed into the culture and the landscape of the Netherlands and Belgium.
And basically, it's pretty much all inclusive when you're on the ship. When we're at the hotels, it's only breakfast included. So lunch and dinners will be on your own. But once you get on the ship, all 3 meals are included. And they serve champagne at breakfast if you want a mimosa. At lunch, you can get beer or wine. There's a cocktail reception before dinner, and then wine is served, and wine and beer are served at dinner. So that's all included. Alma has won awards for their cuisine. They have, the only freezer that they have on the ship is for ice cream. All their food is sourced fresh every day. So nothing is frozen, and whatever countries they're in, they try to kind of, do a little bit of the local cuisine. They adapt to any kind of dietary restrictions you may have or needs. They're very, very accommodating. So whatever your preference is regarding food, whether it's, we go from vegan to foodie, and everybody in between. So whatever you need will be definitely taken care of when you're on the ship. And again, all the excursions that we talked about are included. None of these are extra. And again, as I said, if you have a day you're tired and you don't want to go off on all of them, one of them, any of them, you can, hang back, you can have a leisurely breakfast, you can walk off the ship, you can take a book and read. I mean, you can do whatever you like. You can grab a bike and go off on your own. I mean, you have a lot of freedom to do what you like and what you enjoy. But as I said, everything's included. There's really nothing to spend money on other than if you want a massage, they have a masseuse, and I think you can get your hair done. Some of the ships are starting to do nails, but I don't know if they will, if they do on this ship. There is an exercise room, so you can work out on machines if you want. You can do laps on the top deck. If you want a drink in the afternoon or something, there is a bar there, that would be extra. After dinner, there's usually some sort of entertainment up in the lounge. What I typically do is when I'm leaving the dining room, I just have them fill my wine glass and take it up to the lounge, because I'm fine with that. But if you want to have an after dinner drink or a cognac or something like that, then that would be extra. But other than that, pretty much everything's there. The only extra expenses would be tips, which they tell you what they recommend, and any extra services. There's a small gift shop on board. I can tell you that actually the prices in the gift shop are very good. We had on one of my groups that we actually did a similar itinerary. They bought some gifts in the town, and then when they got on the ship, they had the same thing on the ship for a little bit less. I mean, you never know, but the ship is not, they don't, it's not like airport gift shops where they charge you 5 times the cost of anything. So, and I bought a beautiful necklace on an Alma ship, and I saw it in a gift shop in Portland, Oregon for a lot more money than I paid on the ship. So, so those are the only things. And then laundry, they do laundry. They don't dry clean, but they will do wash. And that's an extra cost as well. But other than that, everything's included.
And of course, you'll have to come home with memories of the plants, because you can buy tulips and bring them home, but you can't bring plants home. And as we all know from reading Triangle Gardener, you really can't grow tulips very well in our area of North Carolina. So those will be the memories you'll bring home of all the plants and the lovely vegetation that we're going to see in that area of the world. So I'm excited. I've never been. I've been in many other countries. I write it, for those of you who don't follow, every issue of Triangle Gardener usually has a travel story. I write about gardens to visit around the world. So anywhere from ones here in our backyard, like in Wilmington, or in the Sandhills, to I went to Cape Town right before COVID hit, and I'll be writing about Kirstenbosch in Cape Town. And I think visiting gardens as part of the travel experience really brings you closer to understanding about this and getting a sense of place of where you're visiting just as much as food does. Of course, I'm going to say that because I'm a garden person.
But that's so true.
Right. So any other questions?
Well, you may not be able to bring some plants home, but you'll bring some fabulous photos of some really interesting plants.
And then Sandy, you're getting a discount.
Yes.
For any bookings.
Right. So if you book your cabin before November or by November 26th, you can get $100 per person off your off the cruise price or the tour price.
And the pricing varies based on the kind of cabin you want on the ship.
Right. It starts, remember that cabin with the windows? That starts, and this includes the 2 nights in Amsterdam as well, starts at $47.95 per person based on double occupancy. And the single supplement is another 50% of the cabin price. But for double occupancy, so really you're under $5,000 for 11 days. Pretty amazing.
With both ship and 5-star hotel and pretty much
And
most of the
food and alcohol and touring.
Yeah. So you're welcome. I'll send you a follow-up. You're welcome to ask me questions. I'll copy Sandy on the email I send to you all. You're welcome to reach out to her and ask her any of the questions. If you hopefully can join us, you'll book directly with Sandy. She's the one that knows how to do that. I only write about gardens and travel. I don't know how to make garden travel happen. So, but she knows how to make it easy. So
Yeah, I'm
she'll be the one who will be the contact to get this trip going. And we're hoping that we see everybody on board at the end of May in 2022 to visit Floriade.
I'm just putting my contact information up again. So in case anybody wants to copy it or something, you can have it for a few minutes. So any last questions?
Can I just say, I have already booked my trip, and Sandy, you are awesome.
Oh, Anne, that's so sweet of you to say that.
This would be the first trip that we have made since the pandemic. Do you think there will be masks required? What kind of protocols will the ship or the hotel have? What if there is a big outbreak in any of these towns along the route?
Okay, well, as of March 2020, my crystal ball went into the shop and it hasn't come out yet. So, a lot of it is guessing. My feeling, and, based on everything that I'm seeing in the industry and everything else, is that it's going to continue to get better. First of all, the ship is requiring at this point, and what will happen by May, could all be different because, entry requirements change day to day. I mean, literally day to day, country to country. But at this point, AMA requires all guests to be vaccinated. In fact, I have a mother and a 12-year-old daughter who are going on a Christmas markets cruise. And AMA called me to find out whether the daughter was vaccinated, which she is. So it's not a problem. So they check. And in fact, in my check-in cruise thing, we have to upload proof of your vaccine. So they're very, very on top of that. And I think that they're requiring masks and, like maybe in some of the public places, even though, everyone's vaccinated. So that's that. Country to country, city to city, it's going to be a little bit hard to say. But what I can say is that Europe is way ahead of the United States in vaccination rates. For example, Portugal is over 87% vaccinated. The article that I was reading, there's almost nobody left to vaccinate. It's either the kids who are underage yet for vaccine or people who have immune things or allergies or whatever. Europe started off a little slow because they started with AstraZeneca and they had a hiccup with that. But once they got on with Moderna and Pfizer, their healthcare system is different than ours. So, it's a different thing. They roll out stuff and people just used to, following the instructions from their healthcare system. So more people are vaccinated in Europe, in most countries and in the countries that we'll be visiting than the United States. I'm actually leaving Saturday. I'm going to Spain, France, and the UK. And I can tell you it's quite a thing to get. Every country has their own entry level requirements, but every day it's getting easier. And by the time we go, more and more people will be vaccinated. I think it will be less and less of some of the issues, just as it's starting to do now. So You know, it's hard to predict more than 6 months in advance what it will be like, but I think it's going to be a lot better than it is right now. We may still have to wear a mask in certain places, like maybe at Floriade, it'd be a good idea because it's just so many people from all over and you don't know who they are. I mean, I'm triple vaccinated. I've had my booster, but when I go into a public place when I don't know who's there, I put a mask on, big deal. One of my clients said to me, they were leaving for France in the end of July, beginning of August. And San Francisco has very high vaccination rates. We're almost close to 90% vaccinated, the Bay Area. But at that point, they said, you know, it's starting to go back with some masks in certain places and stuff. And he said to me, and this is a gentleman who's 78 years old, so we're not talking about a 30-year-old kid. And he said to me, if I have to wear a mask in San Francisco and I have to wear a mask in France, isn't it more fun to be in France? So, you know, I mean, it's kind of, it is what it is for a while. After 9/11, everybody thought we're never going to travel again. It's just going to be horrible. And, you know, we had to get used to some new regulations, but then after a while, it was no big deal. And we're probably going to get used to some changes, and maybe some of them will be better. They'll be healthier, you know, and, but it's going to be good. I mean, after the Spanish flu came the roaring 20s. We're in the 2020s. There's no reason to think that we're not going to come back to some, you know, what we understood as normal travel. We're just going to have to transition a little bit, and it's for the safety and the health of everyone. So I think it's a good thing.
Thank you, Sandy.
And
And could
that's-
we have a copy of this, or send us a link to this recording?
Yes, as soon as it's done, I will upload it to my YouTube channel and it'll sit there, and I will send Beverly the link and she'll be able to send everybody, so you can go
Thank
back
you.
and look over things. And yes, happy to do that. And please share with any friends or family that you think would like to come on this trip with you, because we'd love to have them.
Right.
Terrific.
And back on the health restrictions, next month will be my 10th trip since December, including out of the country, both
Wow.
flying and driving. And I just anyway always buy travel insurance from Allianz, and they cover COVID.
Yeah, we
and-
strongly recommend it.
And so I always just feel it covers for the entire year. It's an annual policy for less than $200 a person. And it would cover you in many ways, not just being ill, but it adds more value if your luggage is lost, you get stranded in a city. I think travel insurance is good, but Allianz I know is one that covers COVID related problems.
Actually, we have a group policy for this trip with Travel Insured, which it's not age banded, so it's very favorable for people who are over a certain age. And it covers COVID. I mean, you know, I always recommend travel insurance, even before COVID. You just don't know. I mean, you can miss a flight, you can fall, you can trip and fall. I mean, you know, there's all things happen while you're traveling. And then if you have to get home early and if you don't have trip interruption insurance, it can be very challenging. Yeah. So we always recommend it highly, but we do have a group policy, which does have really good rates. So, you know, we always offer that to everyone. So that's great. And Kim, you asked, I mean, what happens if, you know, okay, we can imagine what happens if we get some, you know, incredible outbreak and we're back to March 2020. I can't promise you what's going to happen. I can only tell you what AMA did in the past. And when they had to cancel a cruise because couldn't get into the country, whatever the deal was, they either offered people a refund or future travel credits of 115% of what they paid, so that you actually got more going forward for a future cruise. So I can't guarantee or promise that's what would happen, but I can only tell you what the history was.
I have a quick question.
Yes,
Sandy, how long does Floriade last?
It starts in April and ends in October. And the time that we picked is when the things growing in the Netherlands, because of their climate and everything else, will be in the most beautiful bloom. And also before the summer when everybody's traveling with kids and everything else. So we really picked an ideal time to be there.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
All right, is that a goodbye, Kim?
Well, I'll make sure everybody gets the link shortly. If not tonight, I'll send it first thing in the morning. That
Thank
has the
you.
recording.
Thank you
We
both.
appreciate y'all
Great, it was
joining us.
great. It was great meeting you all.
Good
Bye.
information.